Welcome to my live viewer. Welcome to everyone who's watching this video. To anyone who's new to this channel is dedicated to the teachings of a very special being named Bruno Groening. You can learn more about him in the link that I've posted below. So something that's on my mind and heart today is about navigating the spiritual world. I don't mean anything so esoteric like, wandering the universe. I mean, here on planet Earth today, 2023, there's a lot of spiritual ideas and a lot of spiritual teachings out there. And the question is how to navigate them, how to determine what's true, how to, because there's a lot of ideas and many of them conflict. Many of them disagree with each other. But another way to say it is where's a good place to put our attention? And this is something that I've struggled with a lot. I used to live in Santa Cruz, California, which had so many different spiritual things. So many. You could just it used to have the largest New Age bookstore in the country. You walk into there and there's literally thousands of books with thousands of different ideas. So, what to do, how to decide what path to follow, how to what to do with all these different ideas. Well, Bruno Groening offers some what I consider fundamental teachings. And personally, I've gotten to the point where if these fundamental teachings aren't there, or I'll say principles, then I'm genuinely not interested in the spiritual system or idea. Like maybe there's a little bit I can glean from it, but I don't take anything overly seriously that doesn't have the following principles in it. The idea of God or a higher power. The idea that we are a soul, that we're not this body, but we inhabit this body. The idea of having faith in this higher power and trusting that everything will be okay because this higher power is in control. And also trusting in the goodness of that higher power. Detachment. That people, places, and things in this world can't bring me fulfillment. They can certainly bring short-term happiness, and I'm not talking about being a monk or a nun, but the recognition that all this stuff, like having a house, clothes, relationships, trips, vacations, all those things are nice. I'm not saying they're bad, but the detachment is the recognition that none of them can fully satisfy us because we are a soul, and the only thing that can really satisfy us is God. So that one right there cuts out most spiritual systems, right? Or most spiritual or New Age or self-help philosophies. Now, here's the one that will eliminate 99.9%, and that's humility. Bruno Groening modeled humility, and he taught humility. Humility is a very difficult thing to do. It's very humbling how hard it is to be humble. And so what I understand Bruno Groening taught about humility was to be humble before God. It's not that we cower before other people, but in essence, to cower before God. Cower is not quite the word, but the recognition of our need for God, and the recognition, and this may sound silly, but the full recognition that we're inferior to God. Because what is arrogance? Arrogance is thinking, oh, I know it all. Oh, I'm perfect. That's kind of like saying, oh, I'm God. That's kind of what arrogance is unconsciously. So to really recognize, Bruno Groening would say, I am nothing. God is everything. Another way to say it is the recognition of how small we are and how big God is. So, and then after humility, and this will eliminate 99.99% of spiritual philosophies and spiritual ideas, is surrender. The idea that I'm not in control of anything. Now, that doesn't mean I do nothing, but ultimately, God is the controller and is directing everything, including the things I don't like, including the things that seem evil. That fundamentally, those are under the direction of God. And as Bruno Groening said, for learning. That one's very hard. And then simultaneously, surrender is also saying like, okay, God, you're in charge, guide me. Surrendering that I'm not in control of the external world. I'm barely in control of the internal world, of my internal world. But then also seeking to submit, like, okay, God, I want this. Is it a good idea? What do you want? You're the boss. You're the master. So these ideas are not complex, but they're not easy to live. I struggle to live them every day. And for me, Bruno Groening is I won't say perfect, but a near perfect example of living by these simple spiritual principles. Simple, but not easy. Like he's a model for us. For me, anyway. I aspire to be more like Bruno Groening. That doesn't mean I'm going to talk like him or live my life. The details of my life will be the same as his, but those principles of humility and surrender and recognition that I'm a soul and recognition of a higher power and trust in a higher power and detachment from worldly things. That's how I aspire to live. And the words are a little different, but I'm convinced that it's the same message that Christ taught of being a servant of God. And that Christ was another near perfect, if not perfect, example of that. So those are a few things on my mind. Let's sit for a minute or two, reflect on this, and take in the love and power of God. And then the last piece is discernment. Discerning what is good and what is evil. Said another way, what is God's will and what isn't? Because not everything that says it's spiritual is spiritual. That's a very hard lesson to swallow. Bruno Groening taught on this. I forget the exact details, but a close friend of Bruno's, when he was in his body, she had a vision of, while she was tuning in, she had a vision of Bruno. But something didn't feel right. And so I don't remember exactly, like she dismissed the vision and then afterwards, like soon after she did it, then Bruno Groening came into the room and looked right at her and he said, "Very good. That was not me. That was evil, posing as me, but you discerned." In the Bible, it's written about a wolf in sheep's clothes. It can be very hard to detect. So discerning what's true and good. I used to think anything that was, quote, spiritual was good. And hence I would go into that New Age bookstore and just get lost in all these different things because I thought all of it was good and true and helpful. And it wasn't. Thank you so much for your time and attention. And I wish you a beautiful day of connection with the divine. Take care.